cold topics, hot topics. Nothing is a taboo. Whatever topic that come on the table, we are here. I am here to address it and to talk about it. And if I don't have the full information on it, listen, I'm that type of person. I'm not that no type of person that have no pride or anything like that. I will come back with the information on the next show and let you know, hey, look, this is what I researched. This is what I found out. If it's not my experience, I will let you know that it's not my experience, but I will try for the most part, try to find some type of empathetic or some type of empathetic motion about it or something like that, to try to relate, like if it was me, how I would feel, or if it's not me, anything like that. So it's just toolbox where we just dig into the toolbox and we search for different tools. My tool may not work for you, your tool may not work for me, but it's a matter of knowing how to use the tool. Because listen, we can have all the right tools, but that does not mean we necessarily use them the right way, right? Or know how to use them. Okay. And so knowing how to use tools is very important, and definitely in marriage. And some of those tools can be communication, intimacy, relationship. I often say this about marriage. Marriage is the part where you got the wedding dress, he got the tuxedo, you invited everybody, you had the ceremony, you had the I do's and all of that stuff. But after the marriage part is over, now you have to work on building the relationship. It's time to build a relationship. It's time to combine together what the two of you are going to relate to, relate with. Okay. It's not a boyfriend and girlfriend thing no more, where it can be committed, a commitment where, it's a boyfriend and girlfriend thing. You can go your way, he can go his way if it don't work. But now you are entering into this is something God ordained. This is not a man-made covenant, but this is something God from the beginning, he ordained, okay, that a husband and wife will come together, that they will be one. So now you're in a covenant relationship, a marital, a vow, a covenant, which is like a vow. You vow to love each other. You vow to do this, until death do you apart, right? And so it's not as easy as a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship where you can go your way. Now you have, although people, of course, people do it, they go, just go their separate way easily. But with a covenant relationship, it's just totally different. You just can't go your way, because now with a covenant relationship, you have ties. You have ties to different things that go on. Let's say this, you have ties to the different mechanics that go on in the marriage, right? So that's why when you go through, you go through a divorce. I've never been divorced, but I was a second wife to my husband. He was married before. And so, he had ties, with his first wife, which I don't know any, nothing, too much about anything, not my business. But, I'm sure that you have ties. If you have children, that's a tie. Even if you don't have children, if you have different things, you built a business together, you built a corporation together, you built a family together, you built all different things together. You have financial ties together, you have emotional ties, you have so many things that, now in a covenant relationship, if you do decide to use that D word, that divorce, you have to deal with the aftermath. You understand what I'm saying? Not that you don't deal with the aftermath when you're boyfriend and girlfriend and you're walking away, but it's more complicated in a covenant relationship, because the aftermath can be very devastating, especially if you built a family together, especially, like I said, you built amicable stuff together and different things like that, business and all that together. It can be very devastating. So it's just totally different. The rules of the game change when you get married versus when you're just boyfriend and girlfriend. Although you have rules in that, but it's nothing like the rules. They're nothing compared to the rules when you get into a covenant relationship, something you vow to each other, that you are expecting each person, each other to hold up the end of hold up the end of the bargain, right? Of that vow. No infidelities, no abuse, whatever it is that, whatever it is that you're looking for and you're expecting, long as it's realistic. I always talk about unrealistic expectations and realistic expectations. Okay, where you're looking for your spouse to complete you, all of those different things, you have to come completed within yourself. We can grow each other, we can mature each other, we can develop each other, but we have to be careful where we are putting a responsibility on each other, which can be unrealistic to complete each other. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be careful with those things that are realistic for each other. Are realistic. Our realities in the company relationship for each other is realistic. But anyway, we are going to get into this topic. I only have a half an hour. This is only a half an hour show. So as I always say, I really don't get into a lot of deep things and depth things because it's only a half an hour show. But I do try to, marginalize things and put things in perspective and different things like that. And as I always say, this is a show that we can agree to disagree. Okay, we can agree to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. And neither do we have to argue about or have words about everything. As I always say also too, you may take this information, but please go and research your own information. And then what I may say or advice I may give from experiences, from of counseling, me and my husband, we would counsel other people from experiences from other people, from trial and errors in my own marriage. It may not, and what may work for me may not work for you. Okay, so it's a matter of, like I said, them tools. You got to find out what tool works for you and what tool does not work for you. But how you find out is you find out together. Okay, you find out with your husband, you find out with your wife. You have to work together to see what tools work, what tools are applicable for the relationship. So anyway, I want to get into this topic. I've had about 3 or 4 people, the 4 max people, ask me about this topic. I don't know if anybody's up to date on the things of Will, Jada, and August Alsina. Okay. For some people watching this, it may not mean nothing, but people want to know, and it's questions in this, people ask about this. So as it goes, Will and Jada, okay, let me back up. Okay. 4 years ago, Jada, Jada and Will was on the outs with each other. Okay, they were separate. Let me just give you back. Like, they were separated, according to the red table, because I watched the red table, and I'm going to admonish you also to watch Will and Jada's red table. Okay, Will has brought Jada to the red table to talk about this scandal that has now broken out in their relationship. Okay. And so as it goes, 4 years ago, they were on the outs with each other. They were like at the end of their ropes with their marriage. Jada wanted kind of a little bit, always in her mind, out of the marriage. And what we find out also too at the red table and some suggestions, Jada from the beginning never really wanted to get married. She never wanted to marry Will. She never wanted to marry Will. She never wanted to really have no children or anything like that, because she considered herself, she didn't consider herself the wife type. She's not the traditional wife type. She's not the type of person to abide by the rules of a wife. Jada is a free-spirited person. She is a free-spirited person, and she moves free-spirited, and her actions, everything, her decisions are very free-spirited. She does not see herself confined, it's bondage to her. On the other hand, with Will, he's a free-spirited person, but he's into the family because of his background and different things and how he grew up. He's into the family. He wanted to be married. Of course, he was married before. Okay, so he was married before, and so he's into the family. He's into the children. He wanted this. He loved Jada. There's a video out. I researched now. There's a video out, and he's saying how much he loved her. And in that video, he was saying that there was nothing that Jada could do. You got to go find the video. It's nothing. He's giving an interview. It's nothing that Jada could do back then. I don't know. This is like years ago, a couple of years ago, that nothing she can do that he cannot love her through, that he cannot get her through and cannot work her through. Okay. So he says this a couple of years back. Right. And so also too, and also a detail that I'm also missing too, if you follow the media and you follow like kind of the entertainment field, which I must confess that I do. This was a relationship that he had with Jada while he was also in the process of his former marriage. Okay. His former marriage was kind of in a turmoil. And I think they were on their way out of the marriage, but they were still trying to work or whatever the case may be. But Jada now comes in the picture. So we also have to also put in there too. Will was also married also too with when Jada came in the picture. Okay, so it probably could have been the same scenario. Him and his wife, I think her name was Sherry or Cherie or something like that. They were on the outs, and here comes Jada. Jada comes in now, and so him and Jada is together. But Will Smith was married also too, but it could have been a separation thing, just like it is what it was 4 years ago with Jada and Will, right? And so, but anyway, Will and Jada's on the outs, and she has this relationship, or she calls it this entanglement, which was a relationship, a relationship with this young man. He's 27 years old now. So 4 years ago, 27, 26, 25. So he probably was about 24, 23, 24. He was a baby. I'm 49. Jada's probably around going on. Will and them is around my age, 47, 48, 49. I'll be 50. So they're around my age. And so he's like almost her son's age at that time. Like could be her son, which probably makes it even more embarrassing and humiliating between the marriage, right? And so what happens is August Alsina comes into the relationship. They're friends. Will and Jada, they're friends. What happens is August is in a place, I'm going to move through here fast. He's in a place where he's sick. Okay, he's battling an autoimmune disease, which attacks his liver, which is aggressively attacking his liver. He is literally on the verge of dying, right? And so it attacks his liver and all of that stuff. And so what happens is Jada comes in, and somehow they're friends. I don't know how they became friends, but somehow they're friends. And she kind of, in the process of while they're separated, her and Will, because Will told her to go her way, he's going his way, and he was done, whatever the case may be. And so she's nursing him, but in the process of nursing him, although they're on their outs, they still have children. They still act in a way where it's not hurtful and harmful to the children. And so August still comes in the family. They have a relationship. He becomes a good friend of the family. He becomes a good friend to the children. He's like I don't know if you want to call it a brother or just a family member of the family. And so she's nursing him and getting him back to health. But in the process, something is developing between Jada and August, more than likely because of where her heart was at. And if you watch the Red Table, she said it more than likely happened because she wasn't happy. She said on the Red Table she wasn't happy, and she was trying to find her happy. She hadn't been happy in a long time. So, she hadn't been happy in a long time, which means that she wasn't happy in her marriage to Will, and she hadn't been happy in a long time. And so when you have those type of emotions, and then you're working on, she's trying to nurse this young man back to health, and something happens there, or something happens there. Emotions start getting in. Maybe he's the hearts are falling fond with each other. His heart is falling fond with her because maybe she's just that one, like, oh my God, you're here and everything. And then her heart is falling fond of him because whatever it is she felt that she wasn't happy with Will, evidently, I don't know all the details, evidently it's something that he was giving her. It's something that she felt had to be something that she felt that he was giving her that Will may not have been given her. And so her heart grows fond to him, and let's mind you, she's in a vulnerable place. Okay, she's in a very vulnerable place. He's in which seduces him into that vulnerability. He's in a vulnerable place, but we're really talking about her. She's like really in a vulnerable place, and so in that vulnerability, things start happening. Work start happening. Fireworks, different things start happening. So they begin a relationship. Okay, they begin an infidelity. Is an infidelity, and we call it infidelity, adultery, because she's still married. They were separated, but they were still married. That's the key. Okay, they were separated, but they were still married. But here's the thing, which would probably be a whole nother topic. I know, I won't even make mention of that. Forget about that. I won't make mention of that because that's neither here nor there. I was gonna make mention of them as like Monique and Sydney. I don't know if this will even be relevant, has been suggested. And even through them, Will and Jada suggested you have to know words. You have to know play on words that they also too have an open relationship. They have an open marriage. Okay. So, but I'm not going to get into that because I don't even know the relevancy of this. I could bring it in as I don't even have the time for that. I can bring it in as a great relevancy. It does have relevancy, but I won't deal with that right now because that's not relevant right now. But anyway, so they have what they call in their relationship, they have this thing called they're partners. They don't recognize themselves as husband and wife. They recognize themselves more as partners. And what they have is called a honesty policy. The honesty policy is, and I looked this up, and this is quoted from them. They have an honesty policy, and within this honesty policy is, as long as they are honest about the things that they do and about the things that they are going to do. That is the honesty policy in their clause of their marriage, in their relationship between, not in the marriage, but in their relationship between the two of them. They have this honesty clause. Okay, they have to be honest about anything they do, anything they have done, or anything that they're going to do, and which could be the backbone of why this relationship outside of the marriage probably happened. Okay, but anyway, the question here is what I want to get into that people have, people ask me, one, they ask me, what do I think of it? I'm going to say this. What do I think of it? I really, from background information and from healing it, because I do follow Will and Jada. I follow her Red Table. I'm a fan of Jada. I'm a fan of Will. I love them. And so I am friends with them on different social medias and different things like that. So I do follow them and everything like that. Here's my thing, what I think about it. One, when I look at the background information and I hear how they talk and I hear the different things and what they say concerning their marriage and different things like that, I'm not really surprised. Somebody asked me, I'm really not surprised by this, but I don't have no judgment for it, except that I know that the two, they were married. This is called an adulterous relationship. You understand what I'm saying? I don't condone adultery. I don't condone no type of infidelity in any kind of way. So I just want to just make that clear and make that plain. I don't have a judgment for it, except that it is adultery. I don't have a judgment for it only because I will say this because of how they relate to each other. I don't know too much of whether they're in God or whether they're in Christ. And so when you have people that are not in God and not in Christ, the rules are totally different. So it doesn't matter what I really think, because I'm going to come from a biblical standpoint. I'm going to come from a righteous biblical standpoint. So me coming from that righteous biblical standpoint is not really going to, it may matter to those that want to hear my view on it, but it's not going to really matter to the situation because I don't think they're into biblical things like that. When I hear them talk, I don't hear a lot of biblical things. I don't think they're into biblical things like that. I think they're more so nature nurture themselves. It is what it is. And they believe in all types of stuff. As I have followed Jada, she believes in all types of stuff. She believes in different gods and deities and different things like that. And so I would go to say boldly say, I doubt if there's some type of Christian belief there or whatever. So my biblical standpoint or whatever, it wouldn't even matter, okay, at this moment. But I just want to know I don't condone anything like that. But the question is at hand is somebody asked me about 3 or 4 people asked me, because they were in a separate relationship, they were separated, and he like called it off, he was like tired and they was ready for divorce and he was like that. So the question could be like, did he give her a license, to go ahead on and just go and just whatever find, because he did tell her, go find your happy. He was tired. He was through. Go find your happy. Do whatever it is that makes you happy. And so here we are. She finds herself in a relationship and it has made her happy. And then on the Red Table, she hasn't been happy in a long time. And this relationship made her happy. She's sad right now. Now, this is 4 years ago. Whatever made August bring this up, we don't even know. I tell people when it comes to Hollywood, The rabbit hole goes deeper than what we could ever think. But although the rabbit hole goes deeper than what we could ever think when it comes to the things of Hollywood, we see, but we don't see. Hollywood is a whole total sphere. It has its own total rules. It's totally different than how we live our life here. Okay. So there are many cover ups of different things. What made him come out at this time after 4 years? I know he did. I followed him. He did like 2 or 3 interviews, and he talks about it. Just comes out of nowhere. He talks about the relationship 4 years later, and if you follow him, he just did a song called Entanglement. Now, knowing what's going on, why would he do a song called Entanglement? He just dropped a song about him and Jada, their love, professing his love, the love that they have for each other, entanglement. Knowing all of this is happening, why would you do that? So my thinking is always, my thinking is like rolling, like, because Hollywood, the rabbit hole goes deeper than what it is. It could be more to this than what is being shown unto us. It could be more to that red table talk. It could be more to what's going on behind the scenes. It could be more to what, him bringing this up after 4 years than what we could ever fathom and know. I know we see it as, okay, well, maybe he's confessing his dying love for her and all of this stuff. Okay, that's what we see, but we don't know. We don't know what somebody probably told him. Maybe he's trying to get higher. Maybe he's trying to do something. And so some of these things, which is a whole nother topic, rituals in Hollywood, that's a whole nother topic. I won't get into that. So we don't know what things have to be done when we're trying to be public, or we're trying to be popular, or we're trying to get out there, try to make our name great. Sometimes we do that. I'll say this. I'll just go on to say this. Sometimes in Hollywood, they do things at the expense of other people's feelings. They'll even do things at the expense of their own feelings to make them human or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, the next thing was, did it make it right because she wasn't in a happy place for her to have this relationship? I'm going to say no, it did not make it right. Let's just start right there. No, it did not make it right. And only because they were married, there's no justification for it. So I'm not going to try to come from a black or white, it's either black or white, because there is an in between here. We're dealing with emotions. We're dealing with all those different things that she was going through, which put her in a vulnerable position. Still didn't make it right, though, because she was still married. You know what I'm saying? And so my answer is no, it did not make it right. But because of her vulnerabilities and because of where she was at in her head and her emotions, her heart became fond of something that was drawing her, of something that was giving her something that she was not possibly feeling in a long time. Intimacy, she talked about intimacy. The communication broke down. A lot of these things that I often talk about on the toolbox, that matters. Communication matters. Talking to each other matters. Sitting down, seeing where each other is at. Hey, look, me and my husband used to do it all the time. We had moments where like, hey, look, okay, let's talk. Where are we at? You know what I'm saying? I think I told you, I think I expressed some time years ago. I think it was, we was 25 years married. And I think maybe at the 10-year mark or something like that, 10 to 15-year mark, I told you that me and my husband, we just did a counsel. We just went to counsel. It wasn't that anything was wrong or anything was desperately that we needed to see a counselor, but we went because we needed to see, not that we can talk, but it's better if you have somebody there to help process you through. But we wanted to see where we were at. We knew we loved each other. We knew a lot of things. And then a lot of dynamics in our family were changing. We were having empty nester, different things was happening. So we needed to see where we was at with a love for each other, emotionally, all of those things. So we did counseling, and stuff like that. And so that is very important, that when you get to those milestones in marriage, you have to really see. You can't assume that listen, I don't care. I know action, love is in action, but you cannot assume that, that your spouse is still loving you the way that they loved you in the beginning. There's a lot of things you can't assume in your relationship. And I talked about becoming familiar. We got to be careful that you don't become so familiar with each other that you miss those signs. You miss her unhappiness. You miss his unhappiness. You miss, those different little signs that do show in a marriage where there is no happiness, where there is sadness, where there is a breakdown. There's always signs in a marriage where you see that there's breaking down. Communication is the big thing. Intimacy is another. When you see she's no longer into you, when you see he's no longer into you, when you see those different signs, different things, there are different signs. And so this also to bring me into, I got 5 minutes, into boundaries. You understand what I'm saying? When you bring somebody else or bring someone into your marriage, he's not married, he's single, and maybe she might have seen him as a son. Who says she could have seen him as a son? Because he was about as old as her son, Jaden. You know what I'm saying? Or the oldest one, at least the oldest son, Will's first son. And so, we have to think about boundaries. We got to look at boundaries. It's okay to have friends, but have friends with boundaries. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to be careful. We have to be watchful of all of these things, in that. So I'm going to answer that. Did it make it right? Because she was in an unhappy place to have that? No, it did not make it right. But because I'm not in that, I wasn't in that position. I wasn't in her position. Being unhappy means that she was being unfulfilled in something. She wasn't being fulfilled. And the saddest thing that a person can ever feel, whether it's a man or a woman, especially in a marriage, not feeling unfulfilled, feeling unfulfilled, not feeling happy, not feeling like, the love and different things. That is the beginning. That's why communication is important. That is the beginning of a breakdown, in the marriage. And of course, not in the marriage. Let me leave the marriage. Let me say relationship. Because the marriages is already done. The date, you did the I do. The relationship, that's my pies. I got pies in the oven. So it's beeping. So it's the relationship, that is breaking down. And so that's kind of my take on the Will and Jada and August Alsina situation. I pray for them. That's the most that I can, that I can do with them is I pray for, I feel kind of, I feel bad, whatever. Because when you look at the red table, I admonish you, go look at the red table. You can see the hurt in Will's face. You can see the hurt in her. It's hurtful now. Because now, look, we have children. Their children is involved now. Nobody's not talking about that. Their children are involved now. It has not only hurt them, but it has now become an embarrassment and a humiliation and a shame. When August come out with this, don't know what he was thinking about, don't know what was going on, why he spoke this, but their children now involved. They're hurt. Like I said, they're embarrassed. You have to follow the media to know all of this. I follow, and I definitely try to follow this because it pertains to marriage and relationship. Just to see how they're going to work through this. It's all over social media. You can go to Instagram, you can go to TikTok, Facebook, whatever. It's all over. You can go to YouTube. Everybody's talking about it. You know what I'm saying? So Hollywood is very public, so as much as they try to live a non-public life because of that sphere, because of that place, they're always going to be in the public. They're always going to be in the limelight. Their business is always going to be everybody's business, So, that's my take on the Will and Jada August Alsina entanglement, as Jada want to put it, but it was really a relationship. So we have to be careful. And when we are inviting people into our relationship as married couples, especially if they're not married, okay, and even if they are married, because it can happen like that also too. But anyway, that's my take on it. Anyway, I want to just say thank you for joining me in I was going to say thank you. Oh my God, I'm doing so many things. But thank you for being with me in the Marital Toolbox. Until next time, not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. I will be back. But please watch the red table and you will hear it go deeper. You will hear more in the relationship, more than I can ever pinpoint and bring out. Okay. So just pray for them. That's all we can do is just pray for them. And that's it. Okay. God bless you. Thank you for being with me in the toolbox. Bye.